Oh man, guys, big up, welcome everybody again to Elite Footy Talks. Your boy Marken is back with the Soca Warriors live updates. You know how it goes, and today we're gonna be talking about the context of our youth, the football pathways. You know what I mean? Both the boys and the girls. CONCACAF under 17 qualifications was underway for the girls. Their recent performances, their progress, what it tells us about the growth of the women's game in Trinidad and Tobago. And from there, guys, of course, we will transition on and upwards and onwards to the side to the boys under 17 and their upcoming games. Of course, they already had a qualifier, which they lost 1-0, which was really a shocker in the CONCACAF landscape. But, guys, as always, this is fan first and, of course, informed, balanced, and accountable information. Get involved in the chat. Let us know what you're thinking. Let me know, guys. Share your views on Trinidad and Tobago football. Let's talk about what's confirmed right now. The girls' results. It wasn't the greatest, but guys, what I would say to you is that their performances were decent. Like, we saw some of their games, and I would like to say to you that I saw some cracking shots from some of the girls. You know what I mean? And it really looked interesting. And I really do think that, maybe, just maybe, they were going to qualify. But at the end of the day, it wasn't to be, guys. And sometimes it goes like that. And the performances was interesting. Their first result, was a draw. And of course, a lot of people would be critical of the girls. You know what I mean? They came back from 2-0 down to get equalizer, and they showed a lot of heart, a lot of fight under Jason Spence, and assistant coach Dernell Maskell, support staff, Desiree Sargent. Of course, you probably know all these names better than I do. You know what I mean? But the experience of these coaching will come into question later on, because as we see, a lot of our young the coaches that coach the youth level in Trinidad and Tobago, they don't really have that certification, that UEFA A or B license or C license for that matter. And it's something that we will concern ourselves with as we go through this recap of what happened with the boys and what's going to happen with the boys and what happened with the girls. And of course, guys, let's take it into let's start with this context. The national youth team head coaches are typically required to hold at least the federation's top national license and ongoing professional development. These roles involve structured coach education. Now, this does not mean they all have Europe, CONCACAF A or B or C licenses, but, somewhere in the federation, meaning locally or what have you. You know what I mean? So currently the updates, as you know, guys, we're going to be talking about the girls. Let's start with the coaching staff and the standards of what's going on, because we need to discuss that the improvement of coaches and staff that we have representing our national teams needs to be of the highest level that we can offer. And of course, when we say this, guys, we're not trying to downtrod those who are giving their best to do what they can, but we need them to be certified, because being, CONCACAF A or B certified certainly helps the performances. It helps give that tactical nous that you would understand has been missing and is missing from the youth in our football from younger ages. When you compare, and I would love to compare our youths with their counterparts in Europe, because that is where the highest level of football is. And of course, we can compare them to South America and to the USA and Canada, but realistically, we all watch the Premier League and La Liga and Italian Bundesliga. So let's just compare them to Europe. So in their first match, 2-2 against Curacao, not at all the best result for the women's team, but a dominant attacking performance. In their comeback, they showed a lot of fight, a lot of strength, and a lot of determination and resilience in that performance to get themselves level. And they could have had a winner. You know what I mean? But it wasn't to be. And in their second match, they showed dominance against Barbados with an 8-2 smashing. A lot of big performances from the girls in that game. Dominant, top quality. The gap was extremely exploited. Strong confidence booster for the team. And, of course, this was a very interesting performance. We saw good performances from the likes of Juliana Meyer, Rory Gittens, who were influential in linking the midfield and the attack. They contributed on both ends of the pitch. And guys, you have to talk about it. I watched the game. These girls are looking very, very interesting, very talented, a lot of great, movement, and, a lot of interesting decision making by Rory Gittins as well, because she looked very good in the center of midfield. Of course, Sunday Wilson did very well, the captain. She definitely led the line. She was a constant threat in all the games that she played. She didn't get on the score sheet every time, but when she did, she certainly did it with some style and flair. Jade Jones, very, very strong. She is an attacking creator, but, I think, she can do a lot better. She's very, very good from set pieces, a key influence in the attacking play, but she needs to be more confident in her passing. I think she can improve there. Of course, positives about about these players and their performances over the 3 games, their character and their resilience. You know what I mean? Especially when you look at how they fought back against Curacao. Another positive to note about the girls and the way they played in both games is their creativity in attacking play. Jones and Wilson were constantly creating dangerous moments and forced a lot of defensive responses. However, we would see that, they went on, and after good performances like that, they lost 7-0 to El Salvador. And it's a situation where, it puts TNT in a difficult situation. They could be one of the best second qualifiers, but, a lot of people would be dramatic and say, well, we're out and it's all bad. But I mean, at the same time, guys, let's look for where we can, structurally criticize, and do some more improvement, because it's not going to be one of those situations where we just say, well, it's all failure, because, we showed very good performances. I mean, maybe we have not been doing this enough for long enough. And this is why it doesn't seem like it's a natural, systematic approach to the way the girls play football. And maybe this is what sets us apart from their European counterparts. And if you do your research, the European counterparts really do set themselves apart when it comes to teams' depth, physical preparation, and tactical systems. They are often cited as benchmarks, whereas in Caribbean youth programs like TNT, we continue to build a capacity. And now with the opening of the ability to get foreign-based talent now coming in with the grandfather's law, of course, the teams are going to be filled with more depth than ever before. So that's going to be some areas that are going to be finding solutions for, the gaps that might be opening in our squads when we come up to international competition. But another, key point is that in attacking moments and individual skill, we definitely are competitive with our European counterparts. And of course, we do lack sometimes consistency in defensive organization and transition intensity when compared to other European under-17 girls teams. And this is where it gets interesting. And this is why I say to everyone, maybe we need to look at the certification of the coaches, because if they were better certified, they would probably be able to drill these players much better. We can't just say that certification is just certification. Sometimes, trial and error proves that these things do have very, very positive effects. And having a higher percentage of possession, allowing control of games, limiting exposure to quick transitions. This is another play where European teams lead the Caribbean and CONCACAF. They also play at a faster tempo with more structured pressing systems, which often results in more complete defensive transition and superior ball circulation. Now, guys, when we look at that, we're talking about under 17 teams of the likes of Spain, Germany, France, England, the top of the top, the best of the best in Europe. And they tend to average stronger defensive records and higher goal differentials in qualifying phases. But the contextual the counterparts, it's not that wide. You know what I mean? Even though the stats are regional, TNT under 17 shows a strong individual talent and a level of athleticism that is comparable, if not higher, than our European counterparts in most cases. A minus is less collective tactical repetition, smaller competitive calendars that limit exposure, the gap is structural, it's not talent-based. And guys, when I say the gap is structural, not talent-based, I mean to say that, if we find a way to give these girls more competitive games at international level against regional teams or teams in South America or wherever they can get opponents, it certainly will provide them with that experience that they need to take themselves to the next level playing internationally as a group. And this is where we need to work on these things. It's usually that the teams and counterparts that are the best, they play regularly. And Caribbean teams like Trinidad and Tobago, we don't play as much football as we should. Other teams have a yearly season of about 60 games, while Trinidad and Tobago probably has a yearly season of 13 to 24 games. It's not really something that we do in likelihood, and we need to change that. Some developmental takeaways that might increase, the increasing of international match exposure for the young teams in Trinidad and Tobago will certainly help in their experience. Earlier emphasis on defensive structure at under 15 level, which we lack severely, and more competitive minutes at high tempo. Continued investment in women's and youth football is something needs to be done. This also highlights the structural gaps, tactical learning curves, and the need for long-term planning from the TTFA, not in the short term. And of course, guys, it's going to take time. Then again, the scoring result from Barbados, it was interesting. We will be talking about that. The bottom line is, folks, as you can read down there, the under-17 girls group, they showed talent, fight, and goals. You know what I mean? Talent, fight, and goals. And that is something interesting, to be honest, folks, because, they showed a good account for themselves. We expect to do better, and of course, we expected better of them, but, it is what it is. They didn't finish where they should have. And of course, we can complain all we want about it, but that does not change anything. What can change things is the way we approach it going forward. And when I say this, folks, I mean to say that the TTFA, as well as private members of society and the relatives, family members, schools, and clubs of these young girls, need to take research. You know what I mean? There are cheaper ways and inexpensive ways for them to, improve themselves. And this starts by, learning more. And of course, finding ways to get better certification. I mean, Prince Hood beat Mexico. It will be interesting. It depends. It really depends. We have beaten them before at senior level. At youth level, we've gotten draws. You know what I mean? It could get interesting. I mean, the young women's team played very well, I think, with a little bit more intensity in their regimen in terms of athleticism, training, and these things. I think they can go a lot of places. The young girls in that team showed a lot of talent, and when you compare their statistics and performances to the European counterparts based on talent and individual brilliance and their fitness levels, they are very much comparable to the best in Europe. What's the issue is the tactical nous. They're not well drilled in tactical defensive positioning and transitioning like the European counterparts who start learning these things from 2 years younger in age. This is where it gets interesting for the Caribbean, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, where we need to make changes. Of course, this is where it will get interesting. Mark, that was a joke question. We stand 0 chance of beating Mexico. The under-17 boys losing versus Barbados. Well, I mean, a shock loss, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get hyped. Let's transition into this. You know what I mean? Because, let's transition. Because you guys, I feel like you're really upset. You know what I mean? But let's talk about it, because 1-0, a loss against Barbados. You know what I mean? It's not exactly what you want to see from Trinidad and Tobago, knowing that we should be beating Barbados in our sleep. And I mean, who can we blame? Are we going to blame Sean Cooper? He was officially appointed by the TTFA, and now he has a lot of experience in coaching the youth, having managed the under-17 program for, multiple cycles, guys. You know what I mean? He's guided the national teams in a lot of competitions. I don't know. I don't think he's that successful. I think maybe it's time for him to step down or maybe get himself a European, a CONCACAF A license because, he doesn't have that yet. You know what I mean? And I think this is where it gets interesting. We have to start looking at the coaching staff of these young teams. They don't usually give the teams the right tactical knowledge. You know what I mean? Yeah, well, bro, this is what the official TTFA site has. They have the other guy Randolph Boyce as a selector. I think that's the SSFL coach that you're talking about, Randolph Boyce. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's the correct guy, but I think, I mean, well, hopefully, let's see what happens with the SSFL coach, because at the end of the day, this is what they have officially on the TTFA website. Don't be mad at me, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they have the guy who's supposed to, Randolph. I think that's the head coach now. They're saying he's a selector. I don't know. You know what I mean? But what I do know is I watched the game against Barbados, and Trinidad and Tobago had a lot of good moments in the game. I think we should have had a penalty as well, but I think the ref was a bit harsh not giving that penalty. But I think they harped on that. The coach wasn't able to really get them to refocus, and of course they went on to lose 1-0. Now, it's a shock game. It's not something that's normal. In CONCACAF, Barbados, they have to celebrate this shit. It's like the once in a blue moon 10-year situation where they just happen to beat Trinidad and Tobago by some sheer brilliance or luck. And you know what I mean? It's hard to say that, but it's the facts. You know what I mean? And if you look at it, I think, the officiating moment really was where that penalty, because he was fouled and the referee did not award the penalty. Even on CONCACAF.com, they're saying that they apologize to Trinidad and Tobago. You know what I mean? Yeah, but bro, that is a warm up, and that is Peru. Come on, bro. Like, why you them just act like if Trinidad is Chelsea, bro? Son. I feel like sometimes you just try to translate Trinidad football with the level of youths in Europe. And you and I both know that they're not training at that level, bro. Whether or not it's the coaches, you can't blame the TTFA. Because at the end of the day, some of these youngsters, they need to work harder. They need to train personally better. They had to run the extra miles. Yeah, they had to eat properly. You know what I mean? They can't drink soft drink and eat KFC, bro. It's like, come on, let me be real. Let's be honest about it. Let's not just blame the TTFA for everything. Of course, we can also say that, which is dramatically higher, bro. You know what I'm saying? So the level of depth that they have in facilitation is a lot higher than what we offering. It's interesting, but look at it like this, yeah. You know what I mean? In the game, TTI majority of possession, a high pass count, plus 400 passes. But, we are confined to our half in the opposition territory. TNT lacked the penetration and fluidity. Maybe the coach need to make some changes to the attack. Maybe he should he should start that young midfielder instead of bringing him on. And when I say that, I'm talking about Finn, who happened to share the same last name as one of my brethren, Akil the Freitas, Super Chicken, if you know him, if you know. You know what I mean? If you don't know, get to know, But I think that youngster need to start, because when he came onto the game, yeah, he changed the game for TNT. The attack started to flow, but I think maybe he need to affect the game from the beginning. Of course, son, okay. And Barbados beating Trinidad once out of 10 is not, you know what I mean? Boys and them, boys just like the same guy who used to run the TTFA before, and the same guy used to run the SSFL before him, who was friends with that guy. All of them want to blame the population. I would just blame it on poor systems as well, because, guys, we had to really be honest here. You know what I mean? Like, we have to be honest. It's not like Trinidad, it's not like the youngsters wasn't good. You know what I'm saying? You're moving like if there's shit. You know what I mean? Adasa had some good moments in the game. Pitt had some good moments as well. These youngsters was performing. key players in the game. Donovan Drayton, this youth man had a real presence in the midfield. He was looking good throughout the game. And of course, we talk about young Jeremy Nanton, who should have been awarded a penalty. You know, at least, guys, when we criticize these young teams, we have to understand the way you blanket the statement that we so poor on this. You know, you have to remember that you're watching some youngsters who they don't play together that often. And that is a key thing. A lot of the situations is that these youngsters training 2-3 weeks before they are to fly. And that is not good enough. They need to be training together weekly, if not monthly. I mean, they're already all together in Trinidad and Tobago. They might play for different schools and different clubs, but they need to play. They need to train more football. And that's where it's at. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, we could sit here and argue a lot of things. You know what I mean? But if we really look at some of the key critics and really criticize the attack versus the final third scored opportunities, we lacked a clinical edge, and we can fix these things because players can be coachable. If you start coaching them tactically, you know, a little bit more at a younger age, they will make better decisions by the time they come to 17. The defensive organization has always been poor for Trinidad football. Under Dwight York, we've seen the senior team make leaps and bounds in improvements, but it's systematic. You know what I mean? Trinidad coaches love to attack. They don't consider structural defense in many moments. But let's see, you know, we were vulnerable against set pieces and transitional play. That's what, you know, that really exposed us in the games. Now, the inability to turn possession advantage into goals, that is something that is a coach's responsibility, and that is the fault of the coach. You know what I mean? SSL players and coaches will never be on European-based players and MLS Next Academies. But MLS Next Academies is, I don't know what all them men doing, but nobody watches the MLS, bro. And no one is buying any MLS players in Europe. Like, that happens once every 5 years, maybe. You know, let's be honest. And to be honest, the SSFL was a much higher level before. It's not as high as the level as it was previously, but it will get back there. It's a difficult time for Trinidad football, guys. And you know what I mean? The only thing we could do is work hard to improve it. We could criticize it at length. That's not helping anything more than, you know, making it, you know what I mean? It's just criticizing, you know what I mean? Barbados showed sharper aggressor and movement in the game, and the shape looked static in key moments. It was wild, to be fair. But you know, if we compare TNT under 17s again, compare these youngsters to counterparts in UEFA, the difference isn't talent, it's structure, exposure, and repetition at high level. So it's like, you know, we had to close these gaps. We need to increase the international youth fixtures on both sides, not just for the girls, but for the boys as well. We need to improve tactical periodization at under 15 and under 17 level. Strengthen coach education, use more analytics. Oh my goodness. How hard is that? There are plenty data analysts in Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, we should be applying data science to what we're doing. It's simple as that. I don't understand what is going on. You know what I mean? But key takeaways, guys, key takeaways. You know, there's not a talent gap. And once the gap of talent is not there, we know what we can get from working with these youth in the right way. Is a structural gap, an exposure gap, and a gap of reputational discipline in terms of transitional attack and defensive situations. So improving coaches' quality by getting coaches certified. I think at this point in time, folks, if the TTFA don't make a gigantic decision and totally, I want to say totally, I mean to say totally, you know, get themselves in a situation where, yeah, they decide that, you know, unless you're getting a UEFA B or C, you're not coaching. You're not really going to be coaching for Trinidad and Tobago. I think it's something seriously that they need to decide And of course, the youths are suffering because of these decisions. And maybe the TTFA wants to make that decision, but again, you have to understand, guys, that, a lot of the coaches we have locally, they're not that certified, and they might find it difficult to get certification for whatever reason known to them. I am not them, so I can't tell you. But what I can say to you is that maybe we should find a way to provide programs that could assist them to get certification, and then maybe they could pay it back, maybe something like that. Maybe if they get an application for the TTFA, maybe they have some kind of symbiosis where the TTFA pay for you to get certified. You work there for a certain amount of years, so you pay back for that service, or whatever the case is. Something has to give, guys, because the quality of the coaching is really what crippling us, not the talent of the youngsters or their physical qualities. Because when it comes to physicality, individual quality, and competitive spirit, TNT has it at levels probably higher on average than Europe. But what those guys have, they benefit from earlier tactical education, more matches at top speed, and stronger development ecosystems. This is where we change, folks. This is where we take football back in the Caribbean, and we make Caribbean football a strong powerhouse. CONCACAF, a powerhouse in football federations that it never was. We can change this. Small impacts, guys, at a time can make drastic improvements. You know what I mean? This is what we need to get to, 20 to 40 high-level matches per season, per year. Domestic academies plus international tournaments, constant exposure to elite peers. This is what improves Trinidad and Tobago football, folks. Let's not just put all the blame on the TTFA blanket-wise, just like everybody does, because it's easy. It's easy as shit to do. Just blame the TTFA for everything and sit down and wait for shit to get better. I mean, who can do that better than Trinis? We should know. We've been doing it for a long time. You know what I mean? But if we really want to see improvement, this is how we do it. These are the ideas, and this is where we need to push. You know what I mean? And I try to talk to some of the fellow content creators and get them to push these ideas out, because, maybe they don't have all the ideas in the TTFA. Maybe they don't know the best way, and they're searching for answers just like you, just like me. And I think that, we need to inspire. We need to do our part, little as it is. Every little counts when it coming from a small nation like Trinidad and Tobago. You know what I mean? The long and short is short international windows, limited high-intensity friendlies, and smaller competitive calendars. The volume of elite match exposure is really crippling Trinidad and Tobago at international level when it comes to the youth footballers, and, well, of course, the senior team. It's the natural athletic abilities, evident conditioning dip late in matches, limited exposure to high-tempo opponents, gap conditioning, and competitive rhythm. These are purely statistical data analysts when comparing performances of Trinidad and Tobago on national teams under 20 with the European counterparts. And I'm talking about Spain, France, England, Portugal, top teams. We're not comparing them to the worst teams. We're comparing them to the best. And when it comes to physical intensity, to quality, we comparable. The problem is they have year-round high-performance environments, strong core strength and recovery conditioning, high pressing intensity sustained for 90 minutes, because guess what? They're training at higher levels with higher intensity. We need to get to that level. We need better coaches, or we need our coaches to improve themselves drastically. Game intelligence and decision making, faster scanning, and better game management when leading or drawing, strong understanding of space occupation. This is tactical training by coaches. This is where we fail. It's not the TTFA. Genuinely, I mean, we could blame them, but where's the money coming from, guys? Big up to Kingley in the building, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Being certified is one thing, but experience it. No, bro, don't let anybody tell you this nonsense. Because let just put it like this: experience without certification could never be certification with experience. Just remember that, bro. You understand? So as much as you want to have experience, You need to have certification because you need to know which direction you're pushing that experience into. Because it could be experiencing a lot of things that really don't make sense. You understand what I'm saying, bro? It's like, I'm not trying to say that some of these coaches' experience is for nothing, but I'm saying if they don't refine this, it's not really doing what they expected to do. It's taking them 10 years to achieve what another coach who probably have 4 years experience will achieve in 4 in half the time. So let's not make it seem like yo, broski, yeah, let's be honest, bro. If you go and you do the analysis and you compare the data just like I was doing for the last 3 or 4 hours, yeah, and over the last 2 weeks, because I haven't been streaming, I've been working and stuff. So really and truly, I didn't. So now I spend a whole lot of time working on these statistics and data and trying to figure out where the problem lies. You're trying to tell me that, okay, no, we don't need to get certified. Bro, it's clearly stated there that the problem is the way that the techniques of what we use in the coaches is failing us. It's not their talent, it's not their ability, it's not their athleticism, it's the techniques, the step-by-step process that we are growing these youngsters up from grassroots onwards is failing Trinidad and Tobago. They need to redevelop that shit and redefine it. Simple as. If they want Trinidad and Tobago to go anywhere, the system that they're currently using has failed. The end. The coaches that are implementing it, they are also failing, all of them. So we need to change that. Bro, listen, yeah. The game against Barbados was a one-off. I promise you guys, there will never be a day in the next 10 years Barbados beat Trinidad and Tobago under 17, bro. It's not happening. That is a one-off. Yeah. And let's just be honest, the referees cheat. And he probably will be fined. Because according to the CONCACAF website, the referee has been reprimanded and is being investigated for why he didn't give the penalty that was clearly a penalty. So maybe, and I'm not saying that, they're going to beat Mexico. But what I'm saying to you guys, to write them off in this way is not the right way. I mean, Trinidad and Tobago losing to Barbados is a fluke. It's not like if we lost most of our games. If you look at the history of the games they played, they've won more than they lost. I mean, I know a lot. I know Son, Mr. Chelsea fan here. This guy, yeah. I know he is mad because they lost to Peru. But if you look at Peru just come off of a youth tournament playing against the rest of the Confederation. They are in form. When our team has not played any games for like about 3 months before playing Peru. It's no wonder Peru smashed them up. You know what I mean? Of course, the under 20 is better, but a lot of the youngsters who was on the under 17 recently just promoted to the under 20. Now they're looking to go, they're looking to advance themselves. So it's one of those transition times. I'm not really blaming the ref, but bro, I watched the game. Trinidad was the better team in the game. They robbed us a penalty one, and we had more chances than Barbados. Barbados scored a goal from our corner. Bumbleclot. Like, bro, you acting like if Barbados dominate Trinidad and Tobago in the game. That's not what happened. Let's be honest. Come on. Let's not do that. Let's not talk like if they dominate us. We dominate the game and we should have won, but we didn't. But what I'm saying is, and all I'm saying is, we can stave this situation. I mean, and we can improve going forward because, like I keep telling everybody, yeah. Right now, we cannot be losing 12-1 on aggregate. You still talking about this Peru game, Princeton? Really? Oh man, bro. I real sorry, bro. Like I don't know. It's not Chelsea. You know what I mean? It's not Man United. It's not Arsenal. And it's not even the youth team. I don't know how else to say that, bro. Like, so like my whole thing is that I'm not trying to say we can't lose against Mexico. I didn't say we're going to bounce back and beat Mexico. You know what I mean? I'm just looking at it from the perspective that we need to improve. And how are we going to improve that other than blaming the TTFA? How How are we going to improve? How are we going to change this? Maybe not next year, maybe not this year, but in terms of for next year, the next 2 years, 3 years going down the road. How are we going to make changes? How are we going to make improvements? How are we going to change the narrative? This is why I'm talking about, Bruce. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. We lost. Yeah. We lost to Peru 6-7. Yeah. I get it. We lost 1-0 to Barbados. It was not the result that anybody expected. I get it, bro. I get it. The under-17 girls team, they lost, 7-0 to El Salvador. But they beat Barbados 8-2. And it's like, I just saying, like, if we want to see better for these youth teams, then we as Trinidadians, we had to find a better way. And we can't just sit down and hope that the TTFA just be Godfather and do everything. I mean, these young people at the schools, at the clubs, they need support. You know what I mean? The coaches that coaching them, they need help because clearly they can't do it by themselves. You know what I mean? And we could say the TTFA fire these guys, but who they go and hire? Who? You know what I mean? But if all research implying that we need better certified coaches who CONCACAF, at least CONCACAF B certified, because the techniques that they would employ would drastically improve us systematically from a younger age group, then bro, that's the only thing I could suggest because like you, I looking for a solution. And I feel like maybe if we hire 5 CONCACAF B certified coaches or A certified coaches and we put them at under 15 level and under 17 level, in 4 years, by the time we get to under 20 and under 17, we will be beating people. We will be much stronger because when it comes to talent, when it comes to physicality and capability, we are equal, if not more advanced or as gifted or more gifted than the European counterparts. And that is where it lies. I mean, at the end of the day, we had to find a way to be competitive and to develop that talent. And this is the biggest problem. We are not developing the talent. Well, it's stress, frustrating. We are not developing talent well at all in Trinidad and Tobago anymore. We used to be developing it well, but we're not developing it well anymore. And this is where it gets, and it's like, look at, we have these good instincts in open play. Decision making slows under sustained pressure. Game management still developing. Football IQ built through repetition at high level. These are the things that we lack in. If you look at the counterparts in Europe, they average a 55 to 65 possession stat in qualifiers, high pass accuracy under pressure, ability to progress centrally and wide with purpose. In reality, Trinidad and Tobago, we can dominate possession versus regional peers, but possession is often recycled in the defensive half. Limited penetration, progressive passing, and off the ball movement. This is coaching tactics, guys. So we could say all kind of things. And yeah, I know a lot of people don't think we're going to beat Mexico. And the bottom line is, after a 1-0 loss versus Barbados, tough start in the group phase, but you know what I mean? Maybe we might find something. You never know. If we get a draw against Mexico, which I feel like I would love to predict a draw. Yeah. I will predict a draw against Mexico. If we draw against Mexico, that could change things. Maybe we get a win in the last game, 4 points. We know Mexico will slap Barbados. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. We'll see where it goes. Currently, if your guys were interested and you want to see the current standings, I believe the current standings look something like this. Bam, bam, bam. This is the current standings of this is the current standings of the under 17 group stage. You know what I mean? Guatemala is on 6 points. Trinidad Tobago is also on 6 points. Bermuda is on 3 points. Barbados on 3 points. But of course, French Guiana is on 0 points. So, I mean to say, it's not that long, guys. You know what I mean? It's not that far away. You know what I mean? We're not exactly lost. I think if we win the next, if we draw, we get a point against Mexico, it could look up. It could possibly look up, guys. It could. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, guys, what I will say to you all is stress not, but consider what I was telling you guys about. I feel like, you know, there's definitely room for improvement if we can come together, if we can find better ways. You know, maybe the TTFA will start using this. Not only the TTFA, but you know, young footballers, their families, their friends, coaches. Please, you guys on the ground dealing with these young talented individuals, please improve yourselves as well. You know, don't be afraid to ask for help. You know, and try to start using some statistical data because it's clearly shown to improve teams at a drastic level. You know what I mean? And like I say to you all each and every time, you know, it's interesting. And of course, guys, you know, it's sad. It's frustrating. It's really, really frustrating knowing that, you know, we have all this talent in Trinidad and Tobago and we can't get the best out of it. I don't understand it, guys. Can you guys tell me what sense does it make? We have all this talent in Trinidad and Tobago and nothing to show for it. Nothing, you know. You know what I'm saying? Nothing. It is so wild and unfortunate because, I mean, I don't know about you guys here, but I don't think we deserve this. I don't think the youths deserve this. I think, you know, we could blame the TTFA all we want. They have a game tonight against St. Martin. Yeah, no, bro, 3 a.m. I can't do that, bro. I have work. I can't. But I will certainly record the game and watch it over and do a reaction about it lunchtime. St. Martin defeated St. Martin. Huh? Well, okay. I think maybe we'll beat them. But guys, don't forget, you know what I mean? I totally forgot to do this, to put this shit in the chat, guys. You know, guys, I totally forgot to put this stuff in the chat. But anyway, I'm going to put it in the chat now, folks. Please, if you have chance, you know, make sure smash a like, subscribe. I know you're reacting. I know you're probably thinking about what I've been saying. You know, you mightn't like some of the things I've been saying as well, or you might disagree. That's okay. That's okay. It's no problem. We all have different opinions. And it's pretty fine if we have different opinions and if we disagree, because at the end of the day, guys, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, is what it is. It's not that big of a deal if we disagree. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And guys, I'm going to start leaving, you know, links in the chat so you guys could, you know, retweet and stuff. So I hope you guys get the chance, and if you have the time, please retweet those links. You know, of course, it definitely will help the channel grow, and of course, you know, bring more people to support and talk about football, CONCACAF wise, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, wherever. As long as it's CONCACAF and international football, this is where we at. So guys, as you know, your boy Marken, who comes to you each and every time, you know what I mean? This is the home of CONCACAF, Trinidad and Tobago Soca Warrior Football. As always, come in, join in, drop your flags for wherever you represent and wherever you live at. You know where it's at. It's a global thing. We all love football. And of course, Trinidad and Tobago football, close to my heart. So big up to you guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great night. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow on the next one. Your boy Marken. Have a good night.